presentation on the overview of the energy sector in Malawi, how the system is structured, and also the community energy systems development process, how these systems were developed, and then the general objective of this community energy systems, and lessons from energy landscape survey that was done in Malawi, and then how the CSC started, and then way forward from where we are as of now in Malawi. So generally, this is Malawi, and currently the generation capacity is very low. Installed capacity 522 megawatts, and the 441 megawatts done by the government company. And then out of that, 371 is from hydro, then 51 is from diesel, which have been commissioned this year, lowering the generation capacity. And the 0.83 megawatts is from solar at the airport. And then we have 80 megawatts done by a private company, which has installed the systems in the 2 districts. And then we also have 1.3 megawatts on Ilikoma Island, which we share with the, on the lake, which we share with Mozambique. So that diagram basically shows the energy demand versus storage capacity. The blue bars are showing the storage capacity over time, while the pyramid, which is the most like dark gold, is the demand. So the demand is higher than the storage capacity over time. That's where we are as a nation. And nationally, 11.4% of the people in Malawi are connected to the grid, and the 6.6% are relying on off-grid systems. So total, we are about 18%, 18% that are connected, and about 4% of those are connected to electricity use it for cooking, only 4%. The rest still use biomass in form of firewood and charcoal. So 78% in rural areas, totally depending on the firewood, and 18% in urban and pre-urban areas rely on charcoal, which is supplied from rural communities. So both off-grid and those are connected to the grid still rely on some off-grid systems, either for backup, because the power outage is just so rampant. We have almost 10 hours of average of 10 hours per week of power outage. So that need is there for backup systems. The space for off-grid systems in Malawi, we have SDG 7, which requires us to have access to sustainable energy to all by 2030. And the National Energy Policy says that by 2030, only 30% of Malawians will be connected to the grid. So by that time, it means 70% will still be not connected to the grid. And that strata of population must be supplied from off-grid systems. Otherwise, they will remain in darkness forever or for a long time. So the market is huge, both potential for supporting partners as well as for business. Those who want to engage in business, to be entrepreneurs in installation of systems, they can tap in from that kind of business, which in 2020, it was estimated that it can go up to $300 million US for that off-grid system to be set up in Malawi. These are some of the systems which have been installed in Malawi so far. We have a number of them. So we have Nyamvu, Chimombo, Maripa, Olele, Sto, Bondo, Manchewe, Tembanji, Kasangazi, and Junju. These are some of the off-grid systems which are community energy run by communities, or there's an operator who is supplying energy to the communities around those areas which have been given and their capacities. So what is the main aspect of CS development? Number one is to have a desired goal or an outcome. What do you want to achieve? You want to set up a system in an area. Number two is to meet a particular energy demand. It's either energy demand for cooking or energy demand for lighting or both or several demands which may be put together. Then what is the budget which is available to put up the system, which also forms up a constraint on the people which can be involved and also the capacity of the system. And then the target date of completion, which is also affected by the budget which may be available in terms of resource. And comparison with the on-grid systems, CESET are load-centered. You look at the load in the area, the energy demand in the area, and from that demand, you have to meet it. So while the grid-connected system looks at the capacity to buy, the amount of panels which can put together, and also the accessory systems which can be put together. Questions when developing CSCs. What technology should be used for that CSC in that area? And which is the suitable site for the technology to operate well? what should be the design option for the system, and how much energy will be that system generate from the design option, and how much emissions will be generated or saved by putting up the CSC, and how much money is needed to complete the project. Is the technology technically and or economically viable in that area? So you ask all those questions before setting up the system, if you want to set up a system in an area. But challenges which are there will be the type of technology. People not normally go to an area without understanding the technology and also the resources which are available in the area. As a result, if the demand is not known, if the technology is not well assessed, then it becomes a white elephant and cannot be appropriately. So main objective for setting up systems is to do load assessment for the area. It requires surveys to collect data of the potential customers, as Domingo was explaining. They had to go into the community. So it's the same process. Go to the community, find out what is the potential for them to use the system. Resource assessment, what resources are available in the area. Is it hydro, is it solar, or combination of both? So you need to know the source, and we'll also collect that from primary and secondary data, which can be obtained from weather stations and also from visiting the site. And number 3 is system sizing and engineering design. So you size the system which can fit that demand and also make part of the demand. And then economic analysis, you look at how this system, how much we require, and what would be the payback period if people are going to pay for it, and what would be the tariff that people can pay for that system. Then you also do review the system and iteratively start all over again if it doesn't fit the model properly. So general objectives, what we want to do what we want to achieve when we set up the system is to offer a solution to access to electricity, which is clean, modern energy, especially in areas that are hard to reach with the extension of the national grid. If the area is hard to reach, then that is a potential area for setting up a clean energy project. Combat poverty to reduce time and money spent on traveling long distances and paying for accessing services that require electricity. And thirdly, to grow local economies. We want to grow local economies in the area, enhance mushrooming of small and medium-scale businesses within the local community, which would not be there if there was no electricity in that area. So those are the key objectives in setting up a community energy project. We did an energy landscape survey in 6 community energy projects which have been implemented in Malawi. So one was at Chipopoma hydro-based mini-grid. Then we had Stolo, which is solar-based. Then in Tembanji, which is also solar-based. And the Bondo, which is also hydro. And the Nyavu, which is solar. And then in Chimombo, community energy projects. We target CESET operators and households. The operators who are operating the systems and the households which are beneficiaries to the energy in the areas. Those are our targets. So we interviewed about 360 households in those systems, and we assessed knowledge, attitude, and the practice, how people are aware of the system, and also how they're using the system and what are the benefits. Assessed women and the vulnerable groups' inclusion in management and also in participation in the system, and how their lives have been improved. So we used qualitative data, which was collected from a structured survey, and data was collected using mobile voices, recorders, and then which were transcribed to get the results which we have. So how this system started? The systems which I have highlighted started at 3 levels. Number 1, it was by community themselves. Community mobilization, where people were mobilized and were able to set up the system and start running the system and registered as an entity because they are required to register to get a license from the regulator. And then some systems are started by the supporting partners, like STOA and Tembanji. They are started by supporting partners, like UNDP and other partners. And there are some systems which were started by rural artisans, people in the rural area who are not formally trained, but they have that capacity, they have those skills naturally, that they are able to interpret and do things on their own. So that is how some systems, like for example, the Manchewe system was started. So basically from that survey, from the household survey which we did, the households which use electricity, normally 48 out of the 360 use it for cooking, while 346 use the system for powering some applications like lighting, TVs, as well as radios. And the 60 out of the 360 use it for productive use. They are running businesses, they've opened barber shops, they've bought maize mills, and they're now running businesses in those areas. So that's the benefit. That's the distribution of the house which were interviewed in those community energy systems. So Tembanji, Chimombo, Stolo, Bondo, Manchewe, and the Nyamvu. Yeah, so sources of energy used by the households. Basically, there is still use of biomass. People are, there is what we call energy stacking, resource stacking. They are using both hydro, both electricity and the traditional biomass. Biomass basically for cooking, for thermal applications, while the electricity is used for lighting, as well as for cooking, for those who are cooking, and for running some businesses in the area. Next slide. Source of income. We also went to understand how do people earn a living in the area? What are the sources of income from those communities? So basically, farming is the main source of income for most households, about 98% in the CESET. Main crops grown are maize, Irish potatoes, sweet potatoes, tea, pineapples. Those are the main crops which they grow and sell, and some of them use for food. Estimated annual income is at 250,000, which is basically that source of income which they use for purchasing the system requirements. So general impacts: increased economic activities in the area, which were not there before, like the mashing of new businesses. Improved security at night, because of the lights which are there now, the places are secure, people can walk at night, issues of robbery have been reduced, and improved the performance of school going students. They are able to study in the night and also are able to prepare in the night, which was not there before. Reduced energy expenses. When previously they were buying candles, paraffin, and other maybe torches, dry cells, now they're no longer buying that. So that expense has been reduced and diverted to paying for the tariff. Motivation to buy electrical appliances such as TVs, radios, which were not there before. They're able to follow current affairs from which were only available in the cities, and reduce the spread of diseases from fire risks, which were there before because they were using traditional biomass to run some services. So general impacts: households engaged in PUE are able to pay for fees for their wards from the business which they get, the revenue which they get from their businesses. Women no longer walk long distances to have their maize milled for them to have food. Able to charge phones within homes, and like before, where they had to walk long distances to access those services, they're no longer doing that as of now. They are getting those services within the system. Yes, inclusivity. The study found that women were among the people playing an active role in managing the systems, because they are the people who are also burdened with looking for energy when there is no energy system placed in the system. Most of the CESET committees are composed of a large number of women in the committees, and the active roles played by women in the 6 sites were board members, chair leaders, and general committees. So women are included in the management of the systems. The last slide, I think. Way forward, communities that are clustered together are potential sites for CSCs. So we need to look for communities which are clustered together, and these do not have access to electricity. Their potentials are beneficiaries for this. Productive use of energy needs to be enhanced in CSCs for sustainability. Increased customer base needs to also be balanced with the system capacity. So customer base and system capacity must be balanced for us to run the systems properly. Explore business opportunities which can be done in the area, which are currently not there, but if there is power supplied to the community, the people in the beginning of those businesses, for them to continue to pay for the system. And continuous monitoring is also required for the system to work very well. So we need to include researchers in that area. Thank you so much.